Hello. Welcome to episode 2 of Aurora Airwaves. My name is Jordan Bianchi. I'm our host. And I'm so grateful that you're tuning in for a second episode. If you listened to the first, thank you so much for giving it a chance. I'm so grateful that so many people have listened and have reached out to share what they got out of the episode, how it might have affected them, and the wonderful encouragement for me to keep going. I've learned so many things through individual conversations that I've had with family, with friends, and with messages and people that I've never met. One of the most important takeaways is that this journey needs to be continued. There is a strong response in the act of sharing vulnerabilities and the act of sharing how we really feel about things. And through my experience of pouring a lot of myself into the first episode, I've been able to connect with people and be seen in ways that I never really have before. This is because I stepped out of my comfort zone. I allowed myself to step out of my shell because it was the right time for me to do so. And through that, people were able to connect in ways that really touched me. This is the whole point of healing and the whole point of creativity. When we're creating something, there's an aspect of ourselves that we want to see in the thing that we're creating. And it helps us, hopefully, to better understand who we are. In doing so, I've had many revelations, illuminations about who I am as a person and how I want to connect with the world moving forward into subsequent episodes. Where will this show go? What will it become? How many people will it connect with? Who will be on the show? There's so many unanswered questions, but it's a part of my workflow now to understand that not knowing is one of the beautiful parts of the whole process. Through the exploration of Aurora Airwaves, we are going to learn about the auroras together of so many different types of people from many backgrounds, many walks of life. We're going to hear numerous stories. We're going to meditate in many different ways, but we're going to do it a little bit differently than was proposed in the first episode. In episode 2, I was able to sit down and have a conversation with one of my dear friends, Malena Lloyd. Malena is a Los Angeles-based social media guru, a creative writer, and a creative altogether. One of the reasons that I really wanted to sit down with her is because we've worked on many projects in the past, and we're working on projects in the present. But Malena can articulate her healing journey far better than most people that I've ever met. She was way ahead of the curve in articulating and working with her own healing journey. And in many ways, she has been a guide of mine moving forward and trying to better myself. I'm so excited that in this episode, we are going to be able to share our almost 2-hour-long conversation with you. And we talk about so many different things. What I hope that you get from this is that it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, and it doesn't matter where you're going in the future. What matters is finding the courage to be vulnerable in the present. And through that, awareness can really start to happen. And from that moment, changes can start to happen. Active participation can finally begin. Malena discusses her journey and how she reprioritized aspects of her creative life, how one thing turned into another, and through it all, it offered the most beautiful gift, which is awareness. Rather than perfection, rather than pushing and beating herself up to do certain things that she didn't feel that she needed to do. Aurora Airwaves is going to take many forms. There are many different visualizations of the aurora. They take many shapes and many colors. As I start to understand the posting schedule and what type of content that I want to share with you all, I encourage you to reach out to me through one of my social media channels for the page or my own personal pages, and let me know what is connecting most with you so that this becomes more of an open conversation of what you resonate with and what is helpful for you in your own life. This episode will be focused on this conversation with Malena. In our next episode, we will return to my own personal reflections, meditations, and short stories. And in the coming weeks, we will be able to experience together conversations with many different types of people. I'm so excited to be able to share what I've been building and creating. The auroras have been dancing so vibrantly, and I cannot wait to share that energy with you. But for now, it's time for you to listen to my conversation with Malena Lloyd. Enjoy. Well, cheers.
It is what time for you?
6:15.
15 and
6:15 here on the East Coast. And I'm here today with one of my dear friends, Malena Lloyd, sometimes known as Malena Lloyd.
Hate that you did that, because then I changed all my social media to that, and still I'll get emails to this day that are like, "Hello, Malena Lloyd."
Yeah, I bet. It's one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, if I needed to, I could change all my passwords. Like, yeah, it wouldn't. And then it's like, no.
That was a good idea in theory.
In theory, it was fun.
In theory, but then you mess everything up and never listen to you.
He also had That's So Lily.
That is still my username.
Oh, well, if you're interested in following Malena Lloyd. Malena Lloyd.
Malena Lloyd.
Oh my God. Malena Lloyd. On Instagram. There she is. So Malena is in LA, and she's a longtime collaborator of mine. We went to school together. SUNY Oswego. We both studied. You studied creative writing. And what's your other major?
I mean, I was working up to a minor in health science, and I think I was one class short, but I tell everybody I have a minor in health science.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Was that 5 classes?
That's close.
You almost have a minor in something. Excellent.
Fair. I did get my nutrition certification like a year or two ago, so it counts.
Okay. Did it like line up with what you were taught, or has the world changed in the past years?
Lined up actually.
Okay, well that's good. So it wasn't a waste.
Yeah, so now I'm technically not lying.
Good. Yeah, this is a podcast where we technically don't lie. Most of the time.
Just little white lies. Yeah. And if
this is Aurora Airwaves. As long as you're inspired by it, that's somewhat truthful.
You could be inspired to lie.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a good story behind it, keeps you going. So yeah, this has been like, I guess this has been on my list. There's like, my initial list of people that I wanted to have a chat about creativity and well-being and healing and, just all those sorts of things. And in my life, I've been having these conversations for a long time just because it's what I'm interested in. And I'm lucky that I have people like Malena, you, who are, not only down to have these conversations, but you're also having these conversations. And you've been having them for like years longer than I have. I remember like when you moved out to LA, I don't know how old you were, 24, 25, something like that.
20, yeah,
2016, 2017, something like that.
2016.
2016.
September 2016.
That's when I can remember that language and like the verbiage of taking care of yourself and everything started to weave its way into just the things you were posting and the way you talked about things. And at that point, I was not at all interested in any of those type of things.
Sure.
At all. Didn't need to. But I just, I think it's just, I think it's interesting how our creative partnership has grown from writing short films and writing ghost stories to spending most of our time talking about how we're healing as individuals and how we're basically growing into our 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And how that has, like, the more you talk about those type of topics and you move this energy out of your system, it just makes everything so much easier to be creative. I mean, we've recently started working on our feature, a ghost hunting feature, and we've moved so fast. And granted, we know more and our brains are developed now.
Yeah. It's also drastically different from where it was when we were writing it the first time. We haven't written anything down on paper yet, but like when we talk, we're mainly like talking about the characters' personalities and just how we're having those conversations have changed. They're completely different characters.
They're completely different. And I think that when we started writing that script, it was just so much about the spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
It was
just pretty
for
cool.
those who don't know, it was cool. But it went from a thing of like, how do we impress the world? How do we have like the smartest, way of posting? Because originally it was like a web series and it was going to be interlaced with social media and all the characters were going to be real and we were going to trick the world into believing that this was a ghost hunting adventure that, went wrong, was really happening. And I love that. But I think that we missed something in terms of like really fleshing these people out. And I don't think we had the capacity to even like write in that way at that time.
Yeah, I think it has, I remember in one of Juliet's classes when she was like, I can't remember if she was advocating for writing for what you know or not following that rule, but I always like to write what I know. And I think that that's where I didn't know that much,
Yeah. I think we did a lot of that. We wrote things that we didn't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
And that was exciting.
Well,
like week 6 was like that.
Yeah. Well, like week 6, like the general plot, like I don't know anything about, having a family member pass in that way and going through those struggles and everything. But
mm-hmm.
I am familiar with the emotions that they felt,
right.
like that deep grief. But yeah, in that context, no.
Well, but I think that's interesting because like that film in a lot of ways worked. This was my thesis film that Malena wrote, and it's like a 15, 16 minute sad drama.
Very sad. And I think
very sad.
That's like when we started to actually be friends, right?
Yeah, we sort of knew each other in college. We were sort of in the same spheres, but it wasn't until week 6.
Yeah.
And that was a cool project because it was, I guess just for those listening that have no idea what we're talking about. Yeah, just like it was just supposed to be a very serious drama that was shot in college, but it didn't have any college actors or anything. And so I remember they had a few things that I wanted in the script, and I had shot some things up to that point that I felt comfortable or more comfortable shooting a drama. But I just was like, I can't think of where to go with the script. Why don't I actually just like get a screenwriter on board that actually knows how to like bring up ideas and pitch them, and that's what they want their focus to be. So that was when I called you, and I was like, "Yo, like I remember I read one or two of your scripts before that, and I was like, okay, cool. Like she wants to do this kind of stuff."
Yeah. We were in Jamie's class. You'd never had Jamie.
We were in Julio's intermediate.
I had her for advanced. I didn't have her for intermediate.
You must have.
I had Jamie for, I think, beginner and intermediate.
Was it advanced then? I don't think you were in my advanced. I think you were in my class.
Were we in class? Yes.
I don't remember.
Where did you come from?
No, I think you were in my intermediate. Because I don't know where else I would have met you. There was a Living Writers series too.
I'll have to look back at my pictures from that year because I'm organizing all my pictures and I started at college. So I'll see what pictures we'll figure that out.
Cool. Where does he start to appear? Where does he start photobombing?
Just showing up. Doing your little in the background.
But you were saying, what were you saying about like, because I just pitched you a couple of things that I needed and I was like, let's see what she can do.
Yeah, you were like, I want to do a drama. I want it to be, I don't know if you said you said you wanted it to be coming of age. I don't remember if you said you wanted it to be focused around a family or anything. I don't know why you would have said that because I would have been difficult.
I don't think so.
Which it was. There you go. And I apologize.
I think I would have been like freaking out if I had known what you were going to give me, like before you gave it to me. Like I wouldn't have ordered it because it was like incredibly hard to cast.
Yeah. But I do remember you wanted a coming of age story about somebody going through something difficult. And
I just watched a film about like a boy who was like growing up in the foster system in Europe or something. The kid with the bike.
Yeah.
And I think I was like, this would be a really cool angle.
Yeah. That sounds like you.
But then you just sort of like gave me all these ideas and it was pretty cool because it was like I was able to help direct the process, but you were able to do your own thing, which I think in college is something that, you know, most directors just write their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And screenwriters just have to end up write their own features and stuff and maybe help a team out. But for the most part, they don't get to really produce films in that way just because of the dynamics and the ego. So I think it was interesting that we were able to team up in that way.
Well, I think it was really cool too, because like since then we've been like writing partners like on and off, but like I was so surprised at how well we immediately like worked well together because especially because we didn't really know each other like we do now. But
well, you had graduated at that point, which is the other thing.
Had I graduated?
Yeah, so we met before we met about the project right after As Ever showed, whatever. That was before shows dropped. And then we met about it, and I think we were just like FaceTiming here and there. We had check-ins that fall semester, and then it shot in the spring.
I have this memory of being on campus in the fall and meeting with you.
You definitely did at one point.
Okay. Wow, it is all a blur.
One of the coffee shops or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's a cool place to start. If anybody like wants to watch it, like an older cut of week 6 is on my website. A new one's coming out one day. Yeah, I guess it was just really interesting because it's just a slow, sad movie about a boy who's lost his mother. He's like 8-9 years old, and 6 weeks after her death, his rapport with his dad is pretty shattered, and the dad's depressed, and he's a blocked musician, and their rapport is just in a very bad place. And so when the kid starts having problems in school and with his tutor and stuff, it just creates conflict in the house. So looking back, it's absolutely incredible that we were tackling that type of material. But I think to bring this full circle, it's like, it is interesting. Like, I feel like 10 years later, or almost 10 years later, it's like, I don't feel bad about like what I was able to supply in those stories at that age. But I feel like now it's a lot more of what you said. Like, you understand the emotions and what these things feel like, and then you can apply them to a different context, but you do it in your own way. And I feel like this whole journey of healing and getting to know yourself and then talking about that openly with people that are in your inner circle, like it helps you articulate what feelings actually mean and how you actually relate to a situation versus how you might have perceived you did, or how you might have been pushed into situations where you can't actually feel like, you know, how something might feel if it wasn't being suppressed in a certain way. So I look back at those films and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of great stuff here, but I think a lot of it was like guesswork.
Yeah, I think so.
And not like articulating certain things in certain ways.
It'd be interesting to rewrite and reshoot week 6 and see what happens. I mean, that's not suggesting we should do that at all, but
everyone was actually dead the whole time.
We'll just be the ending. We'll just write everything and that'll be the ending.
There never was a tutor. There never was a library.
I like that version.
But then we got into Manifest, the ghost hunting show, which became a film, which then I think teetered back and forth between, like, we didn't know what medium it was going to be. We still don't.
I still have no idea, but I like where we're going. It is more the coming of age paranormal thriller, paranormal drama.
Yeah, paranormal drama.
Yeah, because it's not spooky or terribly scary or anything, but it is thrilling. But it's, I can see, even though like it hasn't been like written or anything, I can see it in my head and I can feel what it feels like, you know?
Which feels completely different from how it did. Like we didn't spend like a weekend writing this.
No.
We didn't spend like 6 months writing it either. We probably spent 2.5 years.
Yeah. When
pretty consistently.
I was in upstate New York while you were in New York City, and then I was in New York City while you were in upstate New York. Like we were just never in the same place at the same time. So all of it was mainly done through like FaceTime.
I can't believe we did that. Well, no, I mean, I can't.
Doing it. And I'm across the country.
Yeah, we're still doing it. I feel like we get to like hang out once a year if we don't have COVID. We both just came down with COVID for Christmas. Yeah. But, well, tell us about, I guess I'm curious about the way that you perceive characters now, going off of what you were saying about like understanding emotions in a different way and having like a clear awareness of what you can bring to a script and stuff like that. How are things changing for you? Like, are you able to separate yourself from the characters a little bit more? Or are you able to see where they're just not as rich as they used to be? Or they're more rich? I don't know. Like,
I mean, like, I'll use Manifest as the example, but like when we're talking about our main female character, Nat, I was never connected with her. I think you said you weren't really either. Like she was just kind of there. She was reacting, not really acting. She's pretty passive. And now when I like envision her, and just the things that we've compared with the things we've talked about that could be possibilities of her past trauma and things she's gone through and everything. I think she's deep and she can still be as silent maybe as she was in our previous versions, but now there's a reason for it. And I think that makes all the difference because I've gone through the same thing. And I think I've compared myself to Nat already in these recent conversations too. And why I feel the way that I do. When we were like, oh, let's make her queer. Like, let's do something. Let's make her bi or whatever. And so that's where getting in touch with things that are more authentic to me and my feelings. I mean, it's helped her already, even just in our conversations. So
there are moments where it was like, we're changing things that we had stuck with for so many years. And it's just like, oh, yeah. But I think like, there's a part of it that like the reason why it clicks is because it's like in this environment, like I'm looking at you when I'm pitching ideas or I'm hearing you when you're telling me things. And so it's like, I guess when something is like true to the individual and it fits for the character that's being told, it's like, oh yeah, well, why wouldn't we have done this already? And this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I can't believe that we're still tossing around a lot of similar examples as we were years ago when we're talking about different works of film and TV or inspiration. Like the OA was a big one and still is. And it's just so funny how those are still examples and we're adding on top of them, but we can see everything so much clearer now.
I feel like I'm not caught up in the world building at all anymore.
Yeah.
Like we spent so much time doing that. And then like we had to. I mean, any fantasy drama needs that. Yeah.
I mean, we had to figure out how those old Edison light bulbs work.
You went light bulb shopping.
No, I think that was just because like I really thought they were really cool and I was just having fun doing that.
No, it was great though. Because it was great like holding it. And I think that's like... Yeah. I don't know. I learned a lot from that of like, you got to get out of the room. You got to go to places. You got to just, even if you think it's goofy, it needs to become physical in some way.
And it got to the point though, where you and I would send each other pictures of those types of light bulbs that we would see.
Yeah.
Which is Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool.
I think it's cool though that like it's like we know we can fill in the blanks when it comes to the world building now though.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, I think it's like taking a lot of the world building out.
Yeah.
Like her not having to react to seeing ghosts all the time and limiting her perception of like what her psychic abilities are. I mean, I think it's interesting that at that age, and I feel like a lot of writers probably do this, that like they're very like intense about, or filmmakers, they're very intense about the projects that they're doing.
Mhm.
And so they make these like very intense situations that I think that like a lot of female characters have to go through. And it becomes an exercise for like the masculine energies to practice being around a feminine energy in a certain way. But like if you don't have experience with your own life of holding that energy, how can you write it?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it was like us trying to like find a gentler way of being. And I think that often gets ensnared with like, you know, the psychicness and clairvoyance and tapping into what's unseen. I mean, there's a lot of like unconscious thoughts and wants like happening in that. But I think like becoming aware of that has helped me say like, okay, well, that's great, but I can learn how to supply that in my own life and then look at the character in a different way and actually see what she wants and what she needs.
Yeah. And you've done that, I think, I mean, just by you doing Aurora Airwaves and the conversations we've had surrounding that, I think all of that stems from the work that you've done because, I think before you're right. I mean, the quality of your writing hasn't wavered, but I think you are more focused on character because you know yours.
Oh. Well, that's good. Well, that wraps up our episode. We have all the sound bites we need. No, I think you're right, because I think before it was like so much of being concerned about like, how is this character going to be perceived? Or is this one going to be approved by the world? Or is this one going to get me to a festival or whatever? And now it's like, does that really matter?
Yeah, it's like when you want something so much and you hold it so tight, you're just going to break it. When you finally let go, it'll come back to you. So whether this is what you continue on with your career or not, it still is, I think you're still going to see success in it. And that definition of success for you, I think, is changing.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for a while it doesn't matter what's being created as long as the relationships that you have with people are, there's good teams, there's good connection, everyone's respectful. And I think that was a period that was healthy in some ways, but it is about what's being created as well. Because like you are trying to see something about yourself and what you're making.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find with some of the projects that you were working on past couple of years that you found certain blocks in certain ways, or you let certain projects go? Or, I mean, you've had your whole business and then that's changed as well. I mean, you could talk about that in terms of, I mean, there was a quote that you said maybe a year ago that when I was pretty confused about stuff, and you were like, it was something about like, I'm going to prioritize this thing right now. It doesn't mean letting things go, but it means like, I'm going to allow myself to prioritize this aspect of my life in this way.
God, I'm good.
And it's a good line because it doesn't say, I don't like it gave me permission in ways to not give up on things, but also like have a line to say to people when I wasn't wrapping up the things that I was doing. Because there were just so many big projects, and then at a certain point, nothing was really getting finished.
Yeah.
So it's a great line to say, like, I'm prioritizing something else, as long as it's honest.
Yeah.
Were there points when you had to do that?
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about my life out here, I moved out here and realized I didn't want to be a screenwriter. And so I put that away because I saw the reality of how difficult it really is. You can't learn that in a classroom,
What were you seeing?
I mean, you're right in the thick of it and you're hearing all of this noise, which is just every person in film, you're hearing all of their stories all at once. and it's just so loud. And you hear some people who are like, oh yeah, I was out here in a year and got an agent, or I was out here for 10 years and I decided to give up. And it's just like, oh my God. And it's like, that's part of like where my priorities changed. I was like, my priorities are no longer working this hard because I've got some serious mental health issues that I have to address. And what factors into the decline of my mental health is not having financial stability. So I got a job in social media. I kind of fell into it, but then I got another job, and there I met my business partner, and we formed a business. And it was 4.5 years that we had a social media agency, and it was fun. I loved it. It was a great ride. It came with so many challenges. Oh my God.
You had like a whole team too. I mean, it wasn't just like a little quiet boutique. It was like a big thing.
We had employees, we had health insurance, and it was a struggle. COVID happened. We shut down during COVID. And now I'm working my second like corporate job now. I start in a couple weeks, 2 weeks. Yeah. And
congratulations again.
Thank you.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's just and I was just funny that you say that, because I was just thinking about this yesterday. My priorities became financial stability. And then as I got into social media, I continued to write, as people approached me with project ideas, and, we're still writing, and I still love writing, but it's just not what I want to be my income, how I want to make income anymore.
Right.
So yeah, that changed, and my mental health went like that with it. But, it's ultimately, I got this job. It's like way up here.
Well, I wonder what the inner dialogue was, because that wasn't a overnight decision. And you think even just saying that, like, having financial security, there is still like an emotional weight to the stories that you want to tell, or the things that you want to do creatively. How do you sit with that? How do you navigate that? Or how did you? And what didn't work?
As far as the plan I approached?
Making peace with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, that was, did I just talk about this with you? What? Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But, I went to school for 6 years for screenwriting and ended up not doing it. It feels awful. It feels like a waste of money. And I'm going to just be transparent. It wasn't my money. My parents funded my college. So grateful for that. But still, it felt like a waste of money, a lot of money. And, but I'm still I found that in social media, which I don't know if you've experienced the same thing, because you're kind of doing that too, is people love that I have a background in screenwriting. They love it. They're like, oh, you are great with grammar. You can do copywriting and you can tell a story, which is huge in social media. And I didn't realize that. Honestly, I didn't realize it until our business shut down.
Okay.
So I think that was when I started becoming at peace with the fact that, okay, this is not what I thought was my life. That's not my life anymore.
So it took a few years.
Yeah. 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's good to hear in a sense, because that it takes time to see yourself in a new light and be doing different things as your main priority. Like, I know, like, I often like will push myself to be like, you need to be here, you need to be doing this thing. That's like, you can build up to that.
Yeah.
And do things to like provide evidence of yourself that maybe you're this person, or, find ways to support that idea.
Yeah.
But I think that's great that you're able to find balance in a certain way and then do it for fun. Because social media requires so much creativity on like every second you're doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool though, because when I had my business, we had a client that was a screenwriting platform. They're called Writer Spotlight. And
Mhm.
So they have like a screenwriting community platform. And so they liked that I was a screenwriter, and they're still my client after, was it 2 years? For the last 2 years or something like that. They've still been my client this whole time. So it is really cool to have a client who's in screenwriting. So I'm combining the social media and the screenwriting, and I'm still learning because I'm doing their graphics and I'm watching their reels and everything like that. So it's cool because I'm staying up to date on everything that's going on in the industry, and I'm learning through quotes and pieces of advice they're sharing for topics that I'm turning into graphics. So I still feel connected, and aside from us writing and everything.
I wonder like what pieces of writing advice or life advice or like whatever they're sharing that you're most drawn to.
So
you just still want to be absorbing the content. What speaks most to you?
They share their own advice, and then they share advice from professional writers and professionals in the industry. But they do have some great advice, actually. They did a piece on like when you're signing a writing contract or something like that. And then there was a quote that I just wrote into the graphic, and kind of going back to maybe how your writing style was initially before, learning more about yourself. And it was something like, when you blow up a planet in the first film, in the second, you then have to blow up 2 planets. And then in the third, you then have to blow up 3 planets. So it was like that concept. I can't remember for the life of me who that was, but it kind of felt like when we were writing Manifest that first time, it was like, this has to be big. And then it's like, but then the next thing has to be bigger, or the next scene has to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we've really just like narrowed that down to just focusing on character and letting the character build like all the worlds and everything. And the character tells us what we have to blow up.
Oh, that's a good line. That's a really good line. The character tells us we have to blow up. Yeah, I remember that of like more when it was episodic for the web series, but we had all the different investigations that they were doing, and each one had to top the next.
Yeah, it did.
While staying in the conventions of the world, but also not being what it was. It was very much like Buffy or like X-Files or something like that at the beginning.
Because you have to keep saying yes and kind of to everything. Like the next thing always has to push. This scene always has to push the next. So it's like, well, if we start out big.
Well, that's the thing, being comfortable with just like trusting the audience and having like a wee little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, but like, there were years in there when we weren't working on it that, speaking of like wasted time, like that's what it felt like. It was like, oh my gosh, was this worth it? Like I remember sending it to a producer in New York and him like having a meeting and like getting really excited about it. And then he sent me an email that was like, you're on your way, but it's not quite there. And it's a little, this, that, and the other. And it was like, don't give up because you're close. And I remember reading it. And when I was serving at a country club, and I was just like, oh. And I just remember like shutting down, being like, okay, we're back to ground zero again, I guess, which, was more of a traumatic response to it, more of a trauma response. But
zero.
No, it wasn't. But it was like, how am I going to fund this? And the script isn't even good. I thought we were ready to go and get all this stuff done. But I think like that's the whole thing about like now, and that the perspective has changed of like, I don't feel like it was wasted time at all. And I feel like if I could go back and like tell me something like right at graduation from college, it would be, don't feel like you have to produce a large work until you're in your like early to mid 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even like, you can try, but like, don't even have that expectation at all.
Yeah.
Like writing the shorts was like so much more helpful, and writing short, fiction works and audio dramas, like that has been so much more beneficial. But it's cool having a lot of heavy lifting, been done, so that when you revisit a script, it's a little easier. So maybe I wouldn't say that to my younger self. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think, well,
it wasn't wasted time.
No, it wasn't wasted time at all because we're coming back to it. And what I mean, again, I think it's so simple. Here's another little quote for you that I was
another
driving
quote.
at night. Night drives will do this to you. And I was just so sad about something in my life. And I was just like, it's not easy, but it is simple. And I don't think that should be applied to everything. We're taking this out of context, but like, I don't know. It's just the things
that'd be a great podcast. Out of context. Like, I don't really know what this is about, but it's interesting.
all of it. But yeah, I'm like, we always know what we have to do. And it's not easy. It's never easy, but it is simple. But we choose to steer away from the difficult stuff. So we make it harder and we make it more complicated and everything. And it doesn't have to be. So it can be difficult and simple. So that's kind of what
we can be.
It can be. So that's kind of what I was thinking. And it was like, yeah, that applies to a lot of my life right now. And now that we're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, that does apply to manifest because it is so simple in the fact that we had to maybe just look at ourselves a little bit more, or look at the people in our lives, or look at this, take a step back from the script and be like, oh, there's no personality to these characters. Not really, but it's difficult because we were looking at the spectacle. We were like, we have to have this really great script and it's got to keep moving.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways it was like telling someone's story. Like how do I say this? There's like, when you're trying to tell somebody else's story, there's when you're trying to tell a story, and then there's when you're trying to tell your story. And I think that when you're trying to tell somebody else's story, it's not really going to work. When you're telling a story that is coming from you, but you're really not tapping in the ways that you could, then it's like, okay, this works, but why do you need to do it in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, why are you here? And week 6 had those moments. Particularly like the last scene when the reconciliation happens and it's just, I could pitch the hell out of that scene. And I did. And it was great because it was a good, strong emotional anchor. And everyone in the crew was like, oh, okay, this is where it's all going.
Mm-hmm.
So that level of embodying was a lot of fun. And I think we're getting to that point now. I was going to ask you a question. I don't know. It was probably a good one too. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, well, that thought is gone.
Come back to that.
But yeah, well, we've covered a lot here. I think. Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. I think it was sort of along the lines of like starting at that ground zero and allowing yourself like the humility and being okay with it, of like saying like, I'm at this place in my life where I thought I had everything that I needed, and then having reality kind of shatter and be like, oh, maybe I don't know everything. And like, for everyone listening, like that's been a lot of the calls. Like I've called you like late at night, like, help me with this social media related thing, or I don't get this, or I don't get how I'm supposed to post for this, platform, or I don't understand why.
Minutes of voice notes.
Voice notes about this, about that, about the other. And I think it's really interesting because from what I'm like creating regularly now that I get paid to do is very different than what I thought 10 years ago I'd be doing. And that's not to say that those dreams are gone, but I think it's really interesting at being at a place where it's like, for me now, I'm asking questions faster, and I'm seeing that that's not a vulnerability. I think before it was like, oh, the world, someone's like pushing back just a little bit, even though it's a caring pushback. They're pushing back. Let's shut down and hide.
Yeah.
Do you feel that? I mean, you always seem like you knock on doors pretty fast, and you're able to like see what you need and move toward it faster than I do.
Yeah, but it never was like always. like that. I mean, I think if
learned.
anything now, because I'm aware of how vulnerable I enjoy being and how I understand that vulnerability is going to only enhance your relationships, hopefully. And if it doesn't, that's a whole other thing. But
yeah, ooh, tell me
because
about
I know,
this.
like, because I know like how significant it is, I want to shut down more now. But I know I have the knowledge though that that's not going to work. So I try not to. But I think it's not easy. But it's better.
Yeah.
Everything is better being more vulnerable. And I think I just I remember coming to Rochester when we met up just a couple of years ago at the coffee shop again.
Mm-hmm.
And you shared so much with me and I was so surprised. And I was like, who is this?
Yes.
So different. And you were so comfortable being so vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
You're comfortable with it. I think that was it. I was like watching your hands. You were not fidgety or anything.
Yeah. And I used to be all the time.
Yeah.
Still am.
Yeah. You're a writer.
Yeah, I got things to do. You know what I mean? No, that's a really good reflection, or just, I don't know. And it's an interesting way to like look at that, because it's when you like, again, if you do that inner work, it makes your life better, which then allows you to connect more because you're accepting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so in those moments, like I had accepted a lot of myself that had really forced me into my isolation and just cut me off from everything. But I crawled out of it, this, that, and the other. And I think it's cool that like you start creating everything in that way, right? Like, I don't know, like I've always said that like, if I'm writing a story that's meaningful and like I really own it, I have to be able to go to a bar with someone, sit down with them and tell them the whole story. Mm-hmm. I can't just make them watch it and be like, okay, go watch this and you'll get it. That was the old me. And how well does that work? I mean, I guess it depends on what you're putting up there. You know, Sometimes it works, but most of the time it's no, because it needs like workshopping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like creating conversations that are meaningful and vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Are they really any different than writing something? Because really that's just a conversation as well.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to like write words and get paid like a nickel a word, that's different.
Right.
Which is just a job. People do that. I mean, that's social media, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Kind of. Did you find with that as you grew and you started to learn more about yourself and your vulnerabilities and your triggers, that working for all different types of clients became easier? And I phrase it like that because I think most people have like the boss that they have to deal with, or the 2 or 3 people at work that they have to deal with. But you not only had a team that you had to manage, but you have all these different types of clients that demand that connection and empathy and that link that you were there for them. Was that burdensome at the beginning? Did you find ways to, regulate yourself and find balance within it all?
Yes. I'll start by saying I didn't have any idea what I was going into when I decided to team up with my business partner and own a social media agency. But we figured it out one day at a time. I don't think it was with the clients. I think it was behind the scenes. And I think my business partner and I disagreed on how we wanted to handle certain things. So I think it was how we wanted to handle clients, not necessarily dealing with the clients, but like which clients we wanted to take on, which ones we didn't. If there was a difference in opinion between my business partner and myself, it was, I would say that is what took the toll, because we both had different ways of handling our own mental health. And when you have that, then not that there's judgment, but there isn't understanding. Because if your experience isn't someone else's experience, then it's hard to relate in that sense. And we just couldn't relate with each other on a certain level on how we handled mental health. And so when it came to dealing with clients that were affecting our mental health or affecting the business, which was affecting our mental health, it was just, everything just felt so scattered.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like whenever there would be an issue, I'd scramble to pick up the pieces. I'd pick up the pieces. Okay. And I would be having these puzzle pieces in my hand. So I had them all, but I wasn't putting them together.
Interesting. So you were just burnt out.
I was, yeah.
And you're in like this like panic mode of just keep it together, but you weren't allowing yourself to have this deeper immersive experience. Well, how could you? You were just holding it together.
Yeah. I mean,
you
I
did.
I was still practicing, things with I was still seeing a therapist and doing a lot of things to help my mental health and just regulate my nervous system. So it's still doing all the things, but when I'm looking back on it, yeah, having a business affected me. I don't know if it was negatively. I loved it. I had so much fun. I had some of the best memories. And I mean, I'm so proud of myself that I did that and I made it through. And it was an overall great experience. I really don't have anything bad to say about it, except for I wish I handled certain things differently, or I wish I knew what I knew now. That's not possible.
Well, so if you went back a couple of years, like right now, and like you looked at yourself, like what would those like pieces of advice be? Just to sort of nudge you in a healthier direction.
I gotta be
not like get your life together. Was it?
I'd be like, settle down. Like I was always on. Like always had some level of anxiety. It could be such a low vibration level of anxiety, but it was always just waiting there.
Murmuring.
Yeah. Just waiting to pop up. Like,
gotcha.
Yeah.
A murmuring. Okay. So settle down. That's good.
Yeah, it was difficult. So I just wish that I had more confidence too. That's what I'm working on right now in therapy.
Define confidence.
Truly loving yourself and being okay with who you are and the mistakes that you make. And yeah.
Being okay with the mistakes that you made. So in that environment, maybe like you were beating yourself up about mistakes, or mistakes couldn't really be processed in a timely manner.
I mean, in general, still, I'm an overthinker. So my former therapist says, I catastrophize situation.
Oh.
And I do. I've gotten a lot better.
So how do you define catastrophize? Like, what does that look like for you in a creative, professional context or in your own life, I guess?
I mean, just in every area of my life, like I would just think about when a situation happens or it's going to happen, I think about every little thing that could go wrong and expect something to go wrong. I expect the worst so that when the best happens, then I'm pleasantly surprised versus being on cloud 9 and then having to fall from that. I thought that was better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Nothing is better. Just learn to regulate the nervous system.
But do you think it's a way of like what you're saying, regulating the nervous system? Like the body is just so used to these vibrations that are just, they're not healthy, but we're used to holding on to them. That like your imagination throws all these what ifs in the way so that you kind of know you're not going to be able to hold on to that nice thing.
I'm sure.
Because if you did, like, then what would you do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if all the problems are taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, logically, it makes sense, but I don't know how the body reacts to that.
I mean, I'm sure there's something to that and the funny thing is, I don't know how, I haven't fully stopped catastrophizing, but it's significantly less.
That's good.
I mean, for a lot of situations and everything and relationships in my life, then I was walking on eggshells. And I finally feel like I'm in an environment just as a whole where I'm not really doing that as much. And I have no idea how I got there, if I'm being honest.
Huh. Well, like, what's a situation where you would have been walking on eggshells and now you're not? I'm thinking like it's probably even like little things. Like if you're at a grocery store and you're asking for something, you know what I mean? Like micro changes.
So I mean, for example, like I have this new website client. So if we're just talking about work, I'm designing her website, and I raised my prices in 2023, and I wasn't even going, and it's just the end of 2023, and I wasn't going to hold her to those higher prices. I was going to hold her to my 2022 prices because she had already purchased, a branding package from me and everything like that. And she's already done this on her website and she's done that. So I could really just give her 50% off. But in reality, it's like, if I'm not standing up for myself, I'm not charging the value of my work, then it feels like I wonder if those clients or just anybody who's on that end is like having a decrease in respect for my work or what I'm doing.
Oh, interesting.
And she had I sent her the proposals, not a single comment or question about budget. And it's like, it was such an amazing lesson to learn, because it's like, she was so happy with everything that I had done for her so far. And so I did give her a discount, of course, because she had already purchased so much from me. She already had a website. I was just redesigning it, all this stuff. So there were certain factors that I included into a discount, but I didn't discount a ridiculous rate because I was nervous about what somebody might say.
Yeah. Well, that's great. It's great that you went and did that. And then how simple the response was.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
So now that you've done that, is there just like a shift in the way that you're approaching everything in terms of money and in terms of what you're going to ask for and what your worth is?
Yeah. So I'm seeing a somatic therapist. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's like a body-based therapy. Your body holds trauma and all that gunk. And it's different in the fact that she was able, I asked her, well, what do you think I should be working on? And because it's a different type of therapy and not covered typically by insurance, things like that, she was able to kind of tell me. And she was like, well, I think we should work on your self-esteem. And so I kind of forgot what your question was, but going to somatic therapy that's, I think, when everything started to change. And so we've been working on my self-esteem, my self-worth, in a somatic way versus just talking about it. And we do talk about it, but working on it working through my body, it's so different. And it's such a slow form of therapy, but it's working. And I mean, I think I'll credit myself too, because I'm doing the work outside of therapy, but having this therapist has made all the difference.
So it's seeing where particular energies are stored in your body and where they're blocked in your body. Well, I don't know, is stored the right word?
You're holding on to these memories. And I'm not an expert in this, but like, I think a lot of it is unconscious. We don't know we're holding on to this stuff. Like check your body right now. Like, where are you tense right now? Like, and why? It's like,
I'm always tense in my jaw. I'm always like clenching and grinding. And a lot of that's from...
Why am I clenching my legs right now? Like, I don't know. But it's these body reactions. Yeah.
Well, so what did you learn about, like, I just think it's so interesting that you brought this to self-esteem. Like, I feel like so much of your journey has been understanding your voice and understanding how you're going to, how you want to present yourself and what you want to talk about and being vocal about it. I feel like once you've internalized something, you don't want to stop talking about it. Like, you want the world to know these lessons because they're important to you.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. where does self-esteem like manifest for you? Manifest.
And are you talking about like in my, like somatically, like in my body?
Yeah, like for people, like if they don't know like what that whole somatic experience is like where does self-esteem, like when it's blocked, what gets limited in the body, and then how does that affect what you're doing?
I'm pretty sure it's where it is in your body is based on your individual experience. But for me, it's, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of all over because, well, for example, I am usually right now I'm sitting back, I'm leaning back in my chair. Normally I'm like up like this and like pushing my body forward and everything. Yeah.
Like, come closer.
Even with 2 cups of coffee in me and not having taken my Adderall today, I'm still fairly relaxed and like lean back, and I'm feeling a little more confident in my skin and the things that I'm saying. And it could be totally bullshit. I don't know, but like that's just my experience. And so I'm confident in my own experience now. So I'm noticing I'm open, like my body is physically opening up more because
I like that you're confident with your experience, not what you've experienced. And you could also be confident with that, but the way I think I'm just drawn to, like, in the moment you're learning how to be cool with what you're doing.
Yeah. But yeah.
Let the audience know. Malena is trying to act cool in the moment.
I get my kicks out of annoying Jordan all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's your favorite pastime.
Really is. I have so many videos of you with the Snapchat filter on.
It looks like a lot of blackmail. Like
a lot of blackmail.
Ooh, maybe that's promotional material for this episode.
There you go. I'll take those up.
Like, we'll promise all, like, that's the tone of this interview, this conversation. And it's like, where was that?
Not at all.
Yeah. Well, that's cool though. That's cool. And it's, I think it's becoming like, the confidence that you have for what you're doing is, I don't know, I guess it's apparent in like what we're talking about lately, like in how you've been coaching me with, with my job and like how to get better at that. Or when we are writing Manifest again, I just feel like this, the desperation that we both had back in the day, it just isn't there as much. It's more of like learning how to trust that process and learning how to be comfortable with the fact that like you might never have the thing that you dreamt you had.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing. Like, it's going to lead you in other places.
Yeah. I saw this really awesome.
As he looks off to the blizzard that's forming. I hope this isn't like ruining the audio. The wind is nuts.
The crisp sunny day here in LA. But I saw this TikTok a couple days ago, and there's this girl who, I'm going to butcher all of this. I saved it. Maybe you can clip it in here somewhere. But
so tell the story wrong.
But like saying how did she decide to have kids? And this is like decision making. I mean, this could be applied to anything. But she decided because she saw something or heard something where someone was like, someone who had kids, gone to the end of their life, and they were like talking from experience and saying, I don't look at this life and say that I have now and say, oh, well, what if I went down this road? Well, I would have had this, or I would have had more time for this. She's like, I don't look at it like that. And had I gone down that road, I know that I would have. This is just you're experiencing the same feelings that you would, whether you have a child or don't have a child. You're just getting it from different things. So you're feeling the same feelings. You're having the same experiences. You're just not following the path that you thought you would have been.
But don't you think certain experiences, like, I guess in that way, like biologically, like they bring out some reaction or they give you some experience that you wouldn't. But I guess everything in that light, everything does that. Every interaction is biological.
I did tell you I was going to butcher it. So I butchered it a lot.
I already forgot. I got excited by the idea.
I'll send you the video. I think I saved it. But she was like, I experienced no less joy by just taking and going with it. Yeah. And she's like, there's you have to learn how to not have regrets and how to be comfortable with the decisions that you make. But once you do that, you experience no less joy than whatever path you would have gone on. Mm-hmm. And if you think about like the multiverse, I mean, gosh, we could have gone millions and millions of paths.
Yeah. The multiverse thing gave me peace of mind a few months ago. I think we talked about that, where I was like, I can worry about everything, but I don't have to, because if the multiverse exists, every version of everything I could have experienced has and is being experienced.
Yes, sir.
And I'm the only one who gets to have this experience. So that's pretty cool.
You might be interested in reading this book, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch.
Oh, book review time. What is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
By Barty Crouch.
Who he is.
Barty Crouch Jr. Did he write this in Azkaban? Dark Matter. It's a story of Dementors and how to screw with them.
This is like a prequel, actually.
How to drink polyjuice potion with nobody knowing.
It's essentially it comes from more of a science background, sci-fi background.
But we don't talk about science on this podcast. Just kidding.
I won't tell the whole thing, but he figures out that there are different versions of him. He could have this version that we're reading about him. He chose to have a family, whereas he could have gone down a road and he could have been an award-winning scientist and made huge leaps and bounds in the scientific community and in the world. And he chose not to do that. And goes to a bar. He's seeing a former colleague of his who has essentially done what he thinks he could have done or would have done had he taken that road. And he does get to eventually experience different lives in his version of the multiverse. And ultimately, well, you'll have to read the book to figure it out. But like, ultimately, he does, this isn't giving anything away, but he does have gratitude for the life that he's living. And he realizes, I really should appreciate this because I'm seeing these other versions of myself who are so lonely in these other worlds. And I'm not lonely in this one. So I guess that's kind of what I mean is like, you will have joy no matter what.
Like it can be experienced, but it's the way that you approach the situations.
Yeah.
So this book is kind of like a mix of A Christmas Carol and The Midnight Library.
Love The Midnight Library. Oh my gosh, it's over there on my bookshelf right now.
I kind of want like a bookshelf to... Wait, can you like bring like your top 5 books over or something? I don't know.
I just started reading. But I'm reading another one. I just started reading another one by Blake Crouch. I forget what it's called even. That's how... I'm just Blake. Like 5 pages into it.
Wow, getting a lot of shout outs. This is great. Okay.
But yeah, kind of like Midnight Library. That's why I was drawn to this book because I read Midnight Library and I was like, kind of want something like it. And then I found this one. I was like,
You ever think about writing prose, writing books, writing in that way? Or is that not your...
It's not my thing. I tried in college when Lee Wilson, I took her course.
Oh, you got to get her on the podcast.
I took one of her courses and it just wasn't. It's just not my thing. I think I would just include way too many details and I would have to, I'm sentimental. It would just be a whole thing. Yeah.
Like, I just read a Malena Lloyd short story. It was just really sad. Nothing really happened. Actually, it's kind of like week 6. That's kind of week 6. We gotta like wrap this up. Well, no, I mean, but now that I think of it, like the way that you write on social media, particularly like a few years ago, was very much like a journal. And it was very much nonfiction writing. there was a large output. Oh, we need to like chat GPT that. I know it's not like hooked up to Instagram, but like, what if it could like take all the stuff I wrote on Instagram for the past 8 years and write a short story about it?
What? Let me experiment with that. But it's
not
funny
that I
that you
do that,
mentioned
but
that.
like,
It's funny that you mentioned like my posts from just a few years ago because they were authentic. Yeah, but I had no idea who I was. I'm so much more confident in myself now.
You were authentic, but you were confident. Were you confident sharing what you were seeing or writing about yourself? Or was it more of an act of just trying to get some energy moving?
I think I was trying to get some energy moving, but also I was posting it for the wrong reasons, I think.
Oh.
I think I just wanted to seem like I knew what I was doing, and I wanted to feel understood and connect with people, which is not the wrong reasons, but it was very much from a base of I want a certain type of attention, positive attention versus the negative that I've received, that I felt like I've received my entire life. So it didn't come from a place, too much of a positive place, if that makes any sense.
So it was kind of coming from the victor mindset.
A little bit,
I need
yeah.
to be on top. I need to show that I'm right and that I'm leading the charge in a way. Were you ever writing, and I'm not saying this because I could think of any examples, but were you ever writing from a place of like trying to get sympathies from people? Because I feel like that's so much, like that's most of what I read on like Instagram and stuff. It's like, I had this problem or I had this perspective. That's very like sort of a Tumblr. That's the Tumblr vibe. Everybody like crying about everything. Not that you shouldn't have a space to do that, I guess. But if it's not productive or...
That's always my thing is like, is it productive? Well, like even if you say, but like me just like, I feel like if I'm just whining, that's not productive. Like if I'm not going to do anything about the situation, why am I am all for venting and ranting and getting things off your chest, even if it's stupid and petty and you're pissed at someone or whatever it is. That's totally fine. Unless you're not going to do something about it, which I'm guilty of.
Oh yeah, we all are.
Yeah. But I think I know a little bit better now. And it's like, okay, well, if I am going to, we'll say talk shit, then I should correct then how I'm approaching that situation. Because if it's coming at it from just a point of anger and I'm not molding that into something productive, what am I doing?
Well, I feel like that can become the vibe on social media, being angry about things. And it's just something from a place of fear and feeling unsafe. So it's like, validate me. And then you're validated, but it's still coming from this fearful place. But
it's also like, is it valid? I don't know. This is a question, I guess. It's like, how validating is it if it's coming from people you don't know, if it's not coming from your direct in-person one-on-one community?
Well, I think that speaks to the individual, right? Like if that's all that they want to be around, they can't receive anything that's real. It's just this perceived from a distance, thumbs up or whatever, that I think we like are hoping for when we're scrolling, right? Like when we're attracted to like mindfulness quotes or, outlooks on life or whatever, I think we're kind of like hoping to see something that aligns with how we feel to then validate, oh, I'm on the right path.
Of course. Yeah.
Versus something that says like, you do not have this aspect of your adult life balanced in any way.
Wait, actually,
those are the ones I want to skip through, but it's like, no. Like, you got to sit in front of this.
I'm going to counter argue that because there is an Instagram account and it actually...
It's not the whale one, is it?
What?
It's not the whale quotes.
No, but I love a whale fact. I love those ones.
A whale fact. That was a good page.
That's a good page. Okay, this one is called Disappointing Affirmations.
Oh, okay.
It's honestly it's a slap.
I'm already like...
But I think I need it sometime. So this one that they posted today it's a swipe, but it says, things didn't work out for a reason. The reason is you make terrible decisions. But it's like,
but that's kind of validating. Like,
I'm able to like, actually, like, I'm like, I'm questioning myself. Like, I'm checking myself. I'd be like, do I make terrible decisions? No? Okay. I can move on. So I'm not like taking that to heart. I'm not taking it personally. I'm not sitting in it and like catastrophizing it, but I am just like, do I? Wait, do I? I've never asked myself that question.
Read it again.
Things didn't work out for a reason. The reason is you make terrible decisions.
But see, I think that like the phrasing of it could be changed.
Yeah.
That's not as like, I don't know, like adult logic me is like, yeah, like, I can do better. I can screw up. I can, fuck up. But I feel like my inner child is not like that.
How about this one? Good things will always find you, but you'll be too distracted by bad things to notice.
Well, I hope that's not true, but it probably is.
So if it's true, is that not a wake-up call to be like, wow, that actually, I am focused more on the bad things. What if good things are happening and I'm not noticing because I'm too distracted by the bad things or the perceived bad things?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it is a really funny page, but it is like, it's kind of helped me a little bit. I mean,
it is always interesting, like when someone like tells you something about yourself that's not favorable.
Yeah,
but they find the right way that like works for you to hear it.
Yeah, now you don't have to hear it from like a friend or family member and get mad at them. You're hearing it from this like no-name like account on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like this one says, the only person you can truly rely on is you. What a fucking nightmare.
What were your dreams like as a child? They were nightmares. Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah. I mean, that wakes me up because I can say from that, wow, yeah, I actually, I'm responsible for myself. I should take better care of myself because at the end of the day, only I am responsible for me.
Well, or maybe it's not that you should take better care of yourself. I think you see through all the somatic therapy and through your inner work and stuff, it's like you see the experience of what being healthy feels like, and that feels better. But you can't be like on top of your game all the time for making every healthy decision. And I think that I feel like a lot of the decisions we make are always going to be stupid decisions, but it's like how we label it. Is it like something that we you knew better than that? It's like, or this presented itself as an opportunity to learn something that you don't have full awareness of and haven't quite healed yet. So this experience of you not being healthy as a teacher, and if you're ready, you can act on it and move that forward in some way.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that like with these decisions or mistakes that you make that maybe you don't know how you feel about them. I mean, that's where I get everything happens for a reason. I don't think everything happens for a reason. I think you have to find that reason or you have to make that statement true because I don't think that things happen for a reason. I think you give it a reason. And I think that's how, I don't think that's the end all be all, but I think that helps you heal. And I think that helps you. Like I had a horrible, heartbreaking thing that happened in 2023 and I had to be okay with it because I saw what was on the other side and it was going to break me to have to make this certain decision. But I knew that there was a chance that I could heal a lot of stuff that I had never even seen in me until I was 31, 32. And I had the opportunity to work on that. And if I had that opportunity, I had to take it. And I'm still heartbroken. I'm still grieving. But I'm so happy that I get to work on all of these other things that I could never see was detrimental to probably all of my relationships.
Well, yeah, I mean, the situation wasn't favorable, but it was raw and so much got brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And you dealt with what you knew your triggers were going to be immediately. You know?
Yeah.
You removed yourself from certain situations. You got help in certain ways. And you started using the tools that you've been, your arsenal that you've been building up, which was impressive to see. But I mean, I agree with what you're saying of like it, like you find the meaning behind what has, been presented. I mean, that's reasoning, right? That's why we're distinct as an animal species. Like we can reason, and other species can, but I think the ability to reason stems from like we find meaning through. Wait, what does she say in Eastern Body, Western Mind, the Chakra book? She says like meaning like comes from like the sensations that we have. The senses create sensations, and through there's a micro feelings, and through the sensations you have your true feelings, which then become these bigger emotions. And then through the way that you emote, you find meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find your purpose in life, right? But all those micro things that you've been absorbing through your senses shape everything. But like you said before, like we're not really conscious of what all these things are.
Yeah.
So it could be like, years and years and years of like trying to figure something out, and then something, not unfavorable, like, pops up like you had to deal with. And all of a sudden you're just seeing the authentic parts of you that, it's like the Band-Aid above the wound that was already there has been ripped off, and you see that it's a big wound that needs a little bit more than a Band-Aid.
It's raw. Like that's the thing is I think that everything that happened towards like that kind of the end of 2023, it was just like, I felt like it was just one thing after the next in every area of my life. I've lost, hopefully not forever, but I've lost so many people, and I lost my first job. I went through a breakup and everything. And it just, everything, one after another, was just like ripping wallpaper off a big 12-foot wall. And it's how tall are walls? Actually, I have no idea. Is that big? I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a house with a 12-foot wall. I mean, these are my height, but it's not my house.
But it's just like ripping that off. And it's like the wall is coming off with it. Spackle is coming off with it. Like, it's just like that underlying layers coming off with it. And it's just like, oh my God, it's so much more painful than just like ripping off a Band-Aid. But the best part of it is like, I'm using so many metaphors, but I don't have like this dry, crusty skin on top anymore now. I can see that I have brand new skin underneath. And it just needs some time to develop. It needs some time to toughen up again.
That's interesting. So, but when you're in that metaphor, like you're ripping so many layers of things that have built up.
That I had no idea.
So it's like ripping. Okay.
It's like I'm the 12th owner of this home, and 12 layers of wallpaper have been on top, and I have to rip them all off.
So now you're seeing the foundation a little bit more.
Yeah.
A lot of it more.
It's like, it feels like I have like this giant sunburn all over. Like if we're talking about this somatic.
Like, ow.
It's like, don't touch me there. Like, and it's like, someone's like, I'm not touching you. It's like, yeah, don't even do that. Like,
yeah.
But
we'd be gentle now.
Well, that's actually really great, because I know that you and I have had conversations about the feminine versus masculine. And it's something that I never really understood when you would talk about it. And, but now I think I am understanding, because I'm getting softer, I'm getting gentler. And I think it's because I'm more raw, and I am leaning more into my femininity. And I'll have you recommend some books for me too. But I saw this stupid TikTok trend of the AI where you like, it zooms out.
Oh, it's like with the, where it like fills in the Photoshop. Like, what am I trying to say? Like, the AI builds it as you're moving outward.
Yeah. So it kept going.
So like a crappy photo of you at Disney World or something. And then all of a sudden it's like,
yeah.
it's just like, what?
And I saw, there was one that I did of me, and it's now a core memory ingrained in my brain, because like what it zoomed out to physically, what I was wearing, it was this very soft version. And it was this flowy white dress. And I was like sitting in this very feminine way. And honestly, through that, I saw my femininity. I saw myself in a completely different...
wow. Okay. Word.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying TikTok is healthy, but it just happened to be the situation.
Everyone, we need to be on TikTok all the time. Altering images of ourselves or letting it alter images.
This is why I'm like, I love and hate my career, because I love my career. I just has some bad parts too. Yeah.
Well,
so I saw myself in a different way, and that was really interesting.
I mean, but that's like the benefit, like, of changing up your looks. Like, did I ever think that I would be working in a hair salon full time? Like, I'm sure when I brought that up for the first time, you were probably like, what? And I think I was too, but I'll have to show my hair off. But like,
yeah, you do.
I got my braids. You're going to have to direct me. Am I showing it off right?
Yeah, you're good.
But like, I never, growing it out was one, step.
Yeah.
And I resisted a lot of like trying out new looks and stuff. But that was incredible, because I realized, like, I remember sitting in bed one night, like after I got my braids, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago. And I'm like, why does this feel wrong? Like, it feels like a completely different way of living. And it's the simplest forms of self-care. This, like, learning how to comb my thick, curly, textured hair. I didn't even know how to comb my hair at 29 years old.
You have a different textured hair for sure. And there are very specific rules. So it's not surprising.
Yeah. It's not surprising. I guess I'm not saying that it's not surprising, but it's the way of, like, when you enter a different environment and you can see yourself physically change in a certain way. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it allows you, like, I guess I'm saying that, like, in tandem with you seeing more of your femininity, it allowed me to see that as well.
Your femininity?
Yeah, that's taking the time to use my masculine side to slow down, to trust other people who were, said, oh, I can take care of your hair. Oh, I know how to do this. In the past, I'd be like, no, get away from me. I'm doing my own thing. Enough people have criticized this over the years. And now it's like, finding that way of calming down and sitting with myself and allowing myself the experience of seeing how I feel about different hairstyles or whatever, and seeing how it feels letting someone else work within my hair. And,
and that's a vulnerable thing.
That is a big vulnerable thing. And that's what the feminine side wants us to be. It wants us to it wants to be vulnerable. It wants to emote. It wants to allow these emotions to swirl around. And, so I think it's cool that, like, going back, like, to the TikTok thing, that it's a way for you to, like, see yourself in a new way. And then all of a sudden it's like, you look back at yourself probably, and then you're like, oh, maybe I need to integrate this a little bit more.
Well, there is something
right?
Yeah, because I've pushed I think what I've done is I pushed my femininity away a lot, because the label I use is I'm bi, and it's hard to be straight passing. Granted, I have it a little easier than some people, but like I do think I am straight passing. And so a couple years ago, I mean, specifically in the pandemic, I was like experimenting with my clothing, my hair and everything, and be like, how can I enter the world again and be less straight passing? How can I look more queer? How can I fit more into that community? And I'll tell you right now, it didn't have that much to do with my appearance. I'm in my different eras all the time. Right now, I'm in my soft girl era. But give me a couple weeks or a couple months, and these extensions are going to come out. I'm going to chop my hair short, go blonde. I don't know. I'm going to do something, and I'm going to be in my hard queer girl era or something again. I don't know. But
so what does that mean? Like, does that mean that it's for you to see yourself, for you to just step into your light in that way?
So that's what I was trying to be like, who am I? Like, what kind of gay am I? You know, like physically, like appearance wise. And I think I was trying so hard to fit into the queer community and look queer.
Look the part.
Yeah, more.
So you can find clarity on the way you're identifying. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, not as much clarity, but clarity, yes. But more, I have a pattern of if I go out, if I'm at a bar or something, or if I'm getting hit on by someone, it's always a male. I can tell you, I can count on one hand with maybe there's 2 or 3 times when I have been hit on by a female with the same intention.
Were you not always aware of when you were being hit on?
No, I was aware, but that was the thing. That was the problem is I was aware, and it was only men that were attracted to me on that level, or not even attracted, but initiated on that level. And I was like, how can I let women know that I am interested in women as well? And
what'd you
find? I was like, I pushed away a lot of that femininities to look more masculine, to look more.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. To play the part more, you felt you needed to have the masculine side be taking charge and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not really the case.
Which is interesting because you were pursued by a masculine energy. So you felt that you had to embody that in a way. But even that wasn't what you wanted to the full extent, yet you were embodying it. So now you're course correcting in a healthy way.
Yeah. And
in your own way.
I still haven't figured anything out, but it's like, I'm at the point where I'm just going to continue to express myself in the ways that I feel comfortable doing so in that moment. And I even updated my Instagram bio and I just added, I like to change my hair a lot or something like that. And it's like, this is a huge part of my life. Yeah, I mean, you've been through all my hairstyles with me. I change my hair all the time.
You had like purple hair like a year ago.
I had purple hair. I had pink hair. I've had blonde hair. I've had long hair. I've had short hair, bangs, no bangs, everything. Like I've done a lot of it. And so that's a huge way that I express myself. And so, but if we're bringing this back to like the authenticity is I'm just going to do whatever I feel like doing. And my energy will give out how I identify. So like I was at a singles party a couple of weeks ago and I had more women hit on me than men.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like,
do you feel that you're more accepting? Because I feel like there was a period when you were trying to like learn what this whole scene was like and, how to navigate it. Do you feel you're just more confident now?
I think I'm more confident. I also stopped worrying.
Okay.
But it's like what we were talking about. Like I stopped holding this thing so tight and I just let it go.
Yeah. Well, great.
Yeah. I'm cured. Great episode.
Excellent. Aurora Airwaves, just, everything just clicks. Your therapist will listen to it and be like, we have a lot to talk about.
Like nothing that you said on there was true or accurate.
I'll have to do a follow-up episode when we watch this episode.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I think that I'm glad we touched upon that topic and a lot of these other topics because it definitely falls in line with like what the Aurora Airwaves, what the Aurora Airwaves journey is. Excuse me. And I think that it's acknowledging when you're in those dark periods of your life. And I think like seeing that there is a lot of light in you, but learning what those colors are.
I like the way you put that. Yeah.
Yeah, learning what that is and being comfortable with the fact that like you won't ever know what it's really going to be. You know, you're going to see aspects of it. You're going to learn a lot more and a lot more and a lot more. I don't know. Maybe you will. I don't know. Maybe we will. But I think that that's part of the joy. There's always more to uncover. There's more Aurora energy to get out, but it can be experienced. Like you're saying with the woman, like experiencing joy, like it can be experienced, that perspective. But I feel like it's for everybody, it's not. But that's why we need to have these conversations and why we need to keep being open and transparent about, you know, where we are in the journey and when we're confused about things and when we're building ourselves up in a way that, you know, we like seeing.
Mm-hmm. And talking about, I mean, this is why I have a therapist, and this is why I'm happy that we're able to have these conversations, because it's talking about these things. And I'll give you a live example is you can spew out all the bullshit, but at the end of it, you'll get to what you're searching for. And which is very funny because I had no idea why I wanted to get these extensions in. And I just did it. I was like, oh, I'm just feeling it. And literally just now I realized why I decided to get these. And it was because I'm coming back to this version of myself that I previously had loved the most. There was this night that some friends and we went out to a bar, and that
recently?
No, like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I had long hair and I had curtain bangs, and my hair looked super cute. And I just remember with my roommate before that, I was picking out my outfit and I was like, I am not comfortable in this. I'm going to switch to the first one. Of course, we always go back to the first one, the first outfit. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to the first outfit, and I'll wear these shoes. And I had not felt that confident in my appearance in a long time. And I walked in with confidence. And at the time, like, I had a little crush, just a very small crush on one of my friends there. And
that helps.
And as I was chatting with him, what?
Oh, I was like, sometimes that helps. Sometimes that does not make one more confident.
But it didn't really rattle me though. And I saw him there, and it didn't rattle me at all. And I was just like, so appreciative. Yeah, I was just filled with like so much like gratitude and so much love for these people, even though like it was not the best night for some people who were there. It's a night that I will never forget, because for those few hours, I was so much myself. Cool. And I couldn't believe it. And I came home and I just like cried happy tears. And I was like, I cannot believe this. And I think I'm getting back into that, because that was the last time I had this hairstyle. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, if you're realizing that was like the underlying like tone of this whole conversation, right? Self-esteem, confidence, building up your autonomy in ways that are healthy in your own rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And your rhythm is like, you know, I guess for now, it's like that long hair, like that communicates something. Maybe it communicates that's because your hair used to be longer when you were younger, you know, in college and stuff. Maybe it's communicating something of like you're returning home to a more
maybe
authentic. I don't know. It's like you're returning to yourself.
This is also where, this is what I relate to femininity, is my long hair on me.
Okay.
So whenever I'm feeling more soft, I usually go for the long hair. When I'm feeling more masculine and whatever,
you rip those extensions out.
Good luck ripping these.
Or carefully, because they pricey.
I don't know how. These are new. I don't know how I would get these. I mean, I have to go to the salon to get them out.
You'd have to.
They're K-tips. Are you familiar with K-tips from your salon work?
That is beyond me. I just know that extensions exist.
You're doing great.
Bare basics. Oh. What did I say? I said something about. Oh, it was you that we talked about with the purple shampoo for blonde hair. I was like, holy shit, this is insane. This is insane.
A whole world that you're learning. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you had a moment of experiencing your own Aurora energy.
Look at that.
Wow.
Wow.
What do you think about the metaphor? Does it make sense to you? You listen to the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not bringing this up to like toot my own horn, but I'm just like curious what that means to you. And I think that that's something I should probably ask everybody. Like the visualization of the auroras. And I mean, seeing your inner light is a very common theme. But how do you identify with that? You don't have to at the same time?
I don't know that I have any connection with like the auroras, but light, funnily enough, has played a huge factor in my life. I mean, if we're just talking about mental health, I've got depression, so it's like light is helpful for that. But I've also got an autoimmune condition where the treatment is light therapy. And now this new job that I'm working for is a circadian rhythm light company. So it's just following.
Okay.
Me. So
and you have social light and manifest, which
social light was
lights.
Yeah. Light is following me. And so it's
okay. Or maybe you're drawing it to you.
Or I'm drawing it to me. That's what I'm doing. Either that or I have a shadow that is connected to me. And it is
just this thing in the back corner of your room. That's been watching you this whole time, right?
Yeah, that's the thing that's been standing there for 2 hours.
Like hunched over in the corner of the room.
Just thinking.
Just waiting.
No witnesses. Speaking of, your profile picture is still that thing that you sent me, or your profile picture, your contact picture.
Oh, the still from Daredevil?
Hide your phone number. But this.
Excellent. Oh, yours is a ghosty too.
I don't know how it became. I don't even know what this is from, but you would send this.
It's from Daredevil.
Okay. You would randomly.
Yeah, because I didn't want to reveal their identity.
Just to freak me out.
I thought you were just joking. I thought you were just being dramatic. And then like a year later, it was like, oh no, she's actually serious. So yours has a ghosty too. There's no way it's gonna.
That's me.
No. The ghosty's next to it, but you can't see it because the camera won't.
Turn your brightness down. Wow, you really need to update that profile or that contact picture of mine.
There you can see it a little bit.
Okay. Oh, yours has a ghost next to it too.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yours does.
Yeah.
Oh.
I said my ears also, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Patreon fans, go through and find out if I said, how do I get it to update? Sometimes like it says automatically like they've updated, but yours never did.
I don't do that. Just screenshot a picture of me from my Instagram and just go to my contact and you just change it.
Oh, manual labor. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Will do.
Okay.
Well, I hope you continue to have New York State emergency. Oh, yeah. New York emergency management. Heavy lake effect snow and whiteout conditions begin tonight. See, I wasn't lying.
Say you were lying.
I actually filmed a reel about me like being in the snow and climbing in my car, going to film a podcast episode.
Good.
And then I'm like, wow, this is dramatic, but we have to post.
No, see, people in California who have never experienced snow will be like, is everyone okay?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
It's just annoying. Yeah. Snow.
I can't really see it that well. Yeah. Text it to me.
Yeah. It's not that interesting, actually. The waves in Lake Erie were kind of like kicking up pretty high. That was like,
Yeah.
I want to be inside now. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for being my guinea pig. Actually, You're not my guinea pig. Sorry. I did record a few episodes last year, but they were like trial by fire and they're all terrible. And I'll probably still upload them. But
yeah. Your 2024 guinea pig.
2024 guinea pig. Thank you for sharing. Any final thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, queries? Any final notes to the listeners? Should they follow you on anything? Should they? What do you want from them? What do you want from my 2 listeners? Well, you're one of them and I'm the other.
Follow me on Instagram and TikTok.
What are your TikTok handles?
You'd think I would know to do that. That's so Lily.
Oh, that's so Lily.
The rip off of That's So Rita. And should I change my username? That'll be another discussion for another time. Sorry, the ADHD is kicking in now real bad.
What, should you change your TikTok? What's your TikTok?
No, both of them. My usernames.
I don't know. I like That's So Lily. I like Malena Lloyd a little more, but that's because I named it.
I'm traumatized from how many emails I still traumatized.
Couldn't log into anything for probably a year.
No, I could not log into anything. Oh my God, it was so bad. I was like, what do you mean? My name is Malena Lloyd.
Right? Lima. Malena from Lima.
No other queries, but I'm sure we'll have more conversations about this offline because this is what we do.
Well, I think it'll be cool, when we listen to this and look back at it and see where we want to go. I mean, the whole Aurora Airwaves journey for me was it was going to be set in stone of what it had to be. But I think I know a lot of this is you just got to fucking go for it. You just got to record a conversation, talk about this, talk about that, make an audio drama, write a story, just do whatever and put it out there. So I wonder what we're going to do. I don't know what this next conversation is going to be but I think that's awesome that, now we can find a topic to talk about.
Yeah. We never run out of topics to talk about, but specifically with you, it could always be an 8-hour conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been. There's no short of hours in the day for Jordan.
What did my uncle say when he was introducing me to one of his friends at my cousin's wedding? He said, "This is Jordan Bianchi." He's a Bianchi. They're great if you have 6 hours you need to kill. I was like,
yeah. If I introduce someone to you, I would probably be like, "This is Jordan." If he doesn't stop talking, you can just walk away and he won't be all that offended.
I probably would be. Is this okay? And that's why I haven't met too many of your friends.
Actually, quite a bit of my friends.
I actually have.
For only...
Well, some of the New York ones.
The New York ones, but you've actually kind of somehow gotten to know some of my LA friends without ever having been here. Are you going to come visit?
That's true. I should come and visit.
Yeah, you should come and visit. This is your couch. This is your bed right here.
My couch. Well, we know that the cat allergy medicine works now. So
great.
There's also cat food that you can buy that my cousin and his wife, I guess she's my cousin now too, that they feed their cats. And it's brings down allergens that they produce in their skin or whatever. Yeah. So I'm going to make you buy that for a year before I visit. Oh, dude. Cool. Yeah, we'll record an episode in LA. That'd be fun. Yeah. There were palm trees in the background, but they'll have to take our word for it.
I mean, there's palm trees, I think, outside my house right here. Not in my yard, but everywhere. I saw that one.
I was mini field trip for the end of the episode, but maybe we'll just end it here. We could go to the beach and film a podcast episode at the beach. Should we have a podcast? We could interview people. Maybe you need to, I don't know. What would it be about? I don't know. Out of context. Out of context. Welcome to another episode of Out of Context. I'm going to go copyright that right now. I swear to God. Yeah, go grab the Instagram. Oh God, there's nothing like a pair of creatives or a set of creatives that don't finish the projects, but think of 500 more. We're good at that.
Also, okay, so I think the epitome of the phrase of friends who are like, should we have a podcast? Is the Basement Yard podcast.
Wait, have I heard of them? The Basement Yard?
It's just these two guys from like New Jersey or New York or something.
Uh-huh.
And they just talk. They're so
About nothing. Everything and nothing.
They're so funny. And I'm like, those are two friends who were like, do we have a podcast? And actually followed through with it. And it's amazing. But yeah,
all you can do is get enough episodes in.
And be funny.
Well, maybe for the time being, you'll be a regular contributor.
Let's see if, okay, we have the mental
You can tell
health
us about the LA trends of health and storytelling and
the LA trends.
Yeah. On the next episode.
Let's do a comedy episode next time. We'll see how that one goes. And then we'll see if that'll be like the barometer. If we should.
Maybe we'll revive Mike from Tinder a little bit.
Oh, you're pulling all script out of the mouth.
Mm-hmm. We can read a scene or two from it. I don't know.
It was New Girl-esque, but it wasn't there at all. It was not quite there.
It was almost there. It was getting there.
And then I reworked it and it just wasn't good. The reworking wasn't good. And then
there were cool scenes. There was a time when we were like ready to like want to film it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had table reads and everything.
Oh, really?
And it didn't. None of the jokes landed.
Oh, that's why I don't know much about this. No.
But then I read through the script again in my head, and I was just like, "No, I'm really funny." I was like, "Wait."
Did they just not read it? I could feel like the wrong people reading a New Girl script would be like, there's nothing funny about driving gloves.
People who watched New Girl and knew New Girl. So I think it was the writing. Yeah.
Maybe you held the vision, but you would need to like hire other writers to like do it in a way that like felt organic or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So I would be,
take a step away.
Went back into film, I would be the showrunner. We'll revive it. I'll hand it to you, and
that'll be nice.
We can work on that together. It's a comedy, so maybe after Manifest, that'll be a nice little break from the darkness.
Aurora Airwaves is always a good break from the darkness. And on that note, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jordan. This is fun.
Thank you again, from the bottom of my heart, for giving Aurora Airwaves a chance. We're so glad that you're here, that this community is getting started, and we cannot wait to share more insights with you as the Auroras continue to dance through the airwaves. In the meantime, please join our community. We now have our YouTube page launched, along with Instagram and Facebook, and you can subscribe to the show on Spotify. More streaming platforms and places to connect will be launched in the coming weeks. If there are topics that you would like to have discussed on the podcast by either myself or through a conversation with one of my guests, please reach out to me through my Instagram at Jordan Bianchi Dreams. I would love to make this podcast as interactive as I can and as helpful as I can to assist with your own healing journey and where that may go. I would love to hear about insights that you've had through my personal reflections, meditations, stories, or conversations. Everything that you can supply me with will help make this show even stronger, so we together can help heal and grow as a community. I can't wait to share our next episode with you. Until then, stay safe, and thanks again for tuning in.